Dear students, in previous session we discussed about photosynthesis, its need for the plant and for the organisms, and also its requirement. We did talk about chlorophyll, which is important part of photosynthetic machinery in the plant. We know that photosynthesis primarily takes place in leaves with the help of pigment chlorophyll and of course sunlight, water and carbon dioxide. Leaves are green, but we should not feel that photosynthesis will take place only in leaves. Whichever part of plant is green in color can participate in the process of photosynthesis. This will also mean the part of the plant which is not green will not do photosynthesis. That means plant is synthesizing food through photosynthesis for plant itself, especially the parts which are not green, and also for us. So, photosynthesis becomes very important. First thing, we get food through this for plant and for ourselves, and then we also get oxygen for breathing. Coming back to chlorophyll, the pigment, which is an important pigment for photosynthesis. It is present in a structure called chloroplast. We know in the leaves there are mesophyll cells in which we have chloroplast, and these chloroplasts will have chlorophyll and they have capacity to orient them or align them in such a way in the leaf so that they get maximum sunlight when sun is there. We know the purpose why they do it, so that they are able to participate in the formation synthesis of food in the leaf. From leaf this food will travel to different parts of the plant, the green parts as well as non-green parts. And when fruits come on this tree, perhaps we will also use those fruits as food material for us. When we are discussing about chloroplast, it is important for us to know the structure of chloroplast. You can see in this diagram, there are areas called grana, stroma, and there is membranous structure, stromal lamellae, grana, membranous lamellae, and of course, there is grana which is having fluid grana. In the chloroplast, there is very clear division of labor, which part will do what. The membranous part, as I told you just now, the lamellae, they will help in trapping the light, bringing light in, using it for the production of ATP and NADH. In the chloroplast, there is very clear division of labor. Which part will do what is decided. There is no overlapping. The membranous part, as I told you, the grana lamellae and the stroma lamellae, they do the job of trapping the light, the sunlight, and helps in the formation of ATP and NADPH. Whereas the fluid stroma, it will bring carbon dioxide in. This carbon dioxide is going to help in photosynthesis and going to help in the formation of food. The glucose, which is eventually stored as starch granules in this chloroplast only. Now, the first reaction which I talked about, bringing in sunlight through lamellae and synthesizing ATP and NADPH, this is called light reaction because it is taking place due to entry of light. The other reaction, bringing in carbon dioxide, is normally called dark reaction, not because it is taking place in dark, it is not taking place in dark, it is taking place in the presence of product of light reaction ATP and NADPH. So, light is even responsible for dark reaction because product of light reaction is being utilized in dark reaction. It is only called dark reaction, but it is also dependent on light reaction. Anyway, bringing in carbon dioxide, the remaining part of photosynthesis, making of or synthesis of glucose is called dark reaction, and this glucose is stored as starch, the starch granules which are also present in the chloroplast. Later on, this food material will be transported in different parts of the plant. So, we have discussed the structure of chloroplast and chlorophyll. Now, let us talk little more about chlorophyll in detail. Chlorophyll is a pigment involved in photosynthesis. There are many pigments present in the plant like chlorophyll A, chlorophyll B, xanthophylls, carotenoids. Before I explain you these pigments, let me just tell you that when you look at any plant, you will find so many leaves, and leaves have different shades of green or sometimes different shades of yellow. In the same plant, you have leaves having different shades. Why it happens and how it happens? Because chlorophyll A is bluish green in color, whereas chlorophyll B is yellowish green, xanthophyll is yellow, and carotenoids are yellow to yellow orange. Now, depending upon which pigment is present in which part of the leaf or the plant, you will find that particular color. But eventually, it is chlorophyll A which is basically involved in photosynthesis and helps in the synthesis of food in the plant. Children, so far we have discussed about chloroplast and the chlorophyll, the pigments. Also, we have known that chlorophyll A is the major pigment for photosynthesis and chloroplast has important role. We will now see the structure of chloroplast in this diagram on the slide. You can see the stroma, you can see grana, the lamellae of grana and stromal lamellae as well. Stroma has lamellae as well as fluid stroma. Whenever it is lamellae, it is membranous. We can even see inner membrane and the outer membrane. Membranous part of chloroplast will trap sunlight and will help in the formation of ATP and NADPH, whereas fluid grana, as I have already discussed, will help in bringing in carbon dioxide. So, this hugely membranous structure within chloroplast helps in trapping sunlight inside the cell for the purpose of photosynthesis. This is the structure of chloroplast, and we have discussed about different types of chlorophyll, and now we move on to understand the light reaction. Light reaction, which is basically synthesis of ATP and NADPH, has some steps. It is photochemical reaction or photochemical phase. Children, why do we call it photochemical phase? Photo means light, chemical means some chemical reaction going on in this phase. So, bringing in sunlight makes the photo part, and chemical reaction going on inside the leaf makes the chemical part. We know that 6 CO2 plus 6 O2 in the presence of sunlight will make oxygen and glucose, C6H12O6 plus 6 O2. That means this chemical reaction is also important, where you are converting carbon dioxide and water to glucose and oxygen. Both we require so much, glucose as food for plant for us and oxygen for respiration for plant and for us, and that is the reason this is called photochemical phase. Now, this photochemical phase has certain steps. You can see on the slide there is light absorption, there is water splitting, there is oxygen release, and then there is synthesis of ATP and NADPH. You all know, children, that whenever I say ATP, I mean energy. Energy requirement is equal whether it is plant or any organism or human. And when energy is utilized, then this ATP is converted to ADP, and again it is converted to ATP by chemical reactions. So, first step is light absorption. Light absorption has so many facets. First thing, sun should be there, sunlight should be there, the ray of incident should be correct, the exposure of plant or tree to the sunlight should be enough, and position of leaves should be correct, the mesophyll cells and the alignment of chloroplast within the leaves should also be in a proper direction. When all this happens correctly, then light is absorbed, and once it is absorbed, definitely it reaches the chloroplast, because it is chloroplast membranous area which is bringing light in. So, that is light absorption. Coming to water splitting. Water is basic requirement for photosynthesis, no doubt about it, but unless it splits to hydrogen and oxygen, the chemical reaction cannot proceed. This oxygen is very important for this chemical reaction, and of course, hydrogen will be forming electron, which will run through electron system, which we will discuss in the next session. So, splitting of water will also take place within the plant tissue, especially the leaves. Coming to oxygen release. During this chemical reaction of photosynthesis, the oxygen is released. That is one important part. Carbon dioxide is taken in and oxygen is released. If oxygen was not released, then purpose of photosynthesis could not be served, and in that case we could not have any life on earth, because even plants need oxygen for respiration. We also need, but plants in respiration, they also take oxygen and give out carbon dioxide. It is only for photosynthesis that they take carbon dioxide and give out oxygen. They have added quality which helps life to sustain on earth. And end product is ATP and NADPH, for which this whole system was operating. Now, we will further see in the following slide and the following diagram how this light is being trapped. Dear students, I will now explain to you the light harvesting complex, which is present in the leaf and works like antenna to take light in. It is also in short called LHC, light harvesting complex. It has basic point near the base. There are pigments, large number of pigments with protein molecules. Then it has photostem 1, which is called PS1. You can see in the diagram photosystem 1 or PS1 and photosystem 2 or PS2. The interesting thing to note is that in these two photosystems, chlorophyll A molecule is not there, pigment is there, but chlorophyll A molecule is not there, and chlorophyll A molecule is present only in the lower part, where you can see one molecule circled red called photon. In fact, this chlorophyll A pigment present in the base will absorb light, but primary acceptor is chlorophyll A, but the total system works to allow chlorophyll A to work. That means photosystem 1 and photosystem 2 will together work as antenna, light acceptor system, and then it is absorbed by chlorophyll A, which is present in the lower area. I will now show it in the diagram. You can see there are pigment molecules at the base shown by green color. It is having one chlorophyll A molecule which is showing as photon the red line, and this is in fact the reaction center, whereas the photosystem 1 and photosystem 2 are making the primary acceptor part acting like antenna, and electron system plays a role in this, which we are going to discuss in the next session. So, children, this is the light harvesting complex which plays an important role in photosynthesis. In today's session, we have discussed about the structure of chloroplast, its functioning, the division of labor in chloroplast. We have also discussed about 4 types of pigments: chlorophyll A, chlorophyll B, xanthophylls and carotenoids, and the colors imparted by them. We also discussed about chlorophyll A, which is the primary pigment for photosynthesis, the light reaction, the dark reaction, the production of ATP and NADPH, and also we have understood the role of light harvesting complex in photosynthesis. With this, we come to the end of this discussion. Thank you.